Hey, my name is Mike Murdoch, and I own and operate plantbasedfoodbites.com, which is a website where I do virtual plant-based cooking classes. Every single week on Thursdays from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we get together and we cook live over Zoom in real time, where I prepare a bunch of plant-based recipes with the people that have signed up for the class. When you register the Monday before, you will get an email that has a shopping list and a prep schedule, all the ingredients that you need, as well as all the recipes for the class. And then each week with a new menu, we cook those recipes together. And because it's on Zoom, it's really great because you're in your own kitchen, you're using your own tools, and it's something that's really recreatable. And you can also always pop off, off mute and ask me any questions whenever we're cooking together. I also do private Zoom cooking classes, so you can always book one of those with me where we would cook together over Zoom, ask me any questions, we can do a personalized menu. And something else that I do that's been lots of fun is doing corporate team building events. So if you have a team that maybe wants to get together, you might be in different cities or in different places, and we can all cook together over Zoom, and after we're done, you'll have a meal that you can sit down to, and I can leave you alone if it's one of those corporates, and you can connect with your team after you're done cooking. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna prepare some Vietnamese fresh rolls and a peanut dipping sauce. This is a recipe that I did a couple of weeks ago for one of my cooking classes. Each week is a different theme, normally international cuisine, as well as sometimes comfort food. And coming up into the holiday season, there's gonna be some baking classes as well as some, food prep classes so you can get ready for your week on Sunday afternoon as well. So check out the website, plantbasedfoodbites.com. There's lots of information over there. And I'm just gonna kind of do this like I would normally do one of my cooking classes, where I'll prepare some of these fresh rolls, we'll go through and make the dipping sauce, and hopefully you enjoy this, okay? So I've already prepped my vegetables. What I have here is some carrots that are thinly sliced, some cucumber, I've got red pepper, yellow pepper, green onions, some bean sprouts that have been lightly blanched as well, so that just means like putting them in some boiling water for about 30 seconds and then rinsing them in cold water, and some lettuce as well. These wraps also sometimes have things like rice noodles in them. I'm just leaving that out today, give it a little bit lower carb, as well as some mint and some fresh basil. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the rice paper wraps. These are available at a lot of grocery stores nowadays. You can definitely find them at Asian grocery stores as well. They come in round or square, and they come in different sizes. The round are the most readily available, so that's the ones that I'm gonna use today. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna dip one of these into some warm water. So you don't want the water to be too hot. You want it to be like, just a little bit warmer than room temperature. And a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're working with rice paper wraps is actually to put them in the water for too long, which will make them too soft and slippery and hard to work with. Another thing that can be really helpful is to wet down your work surface. If you do this on plastic, they'll tend to slide around a little bit more. I like to work on wood because there's a little bit more grip to it. But if the wood is too dry, it can actually kind of, they'll start to stick to it a little bit when you work with them. So just like wetting your cutting board lightly is a really great tip to help make working with these a little bit easier. So I'm just gonna do that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put these into the water for maybe 5 to 8 seconds, okay? So just getting them wet, but you don't wanna get them too wet because it might still feel a little bit crisp, but as it sits here for the next 30 seconds while we fill it up, we'll do 2 at once here, they will finish hydrating, and then they'll be a lot more pliable and easy to work with. These are just such a great snack. They do keep in the fridge for a few days, so you can make them in advance, and they're also just a really great thing to make at parties. People love them. You can also add shrimp if you're not fully plant-based, but we're gonna do these plant-based today. So what I'm gonna do, starting here, I'm gonna work in the bottom third of each wrap so that we have some of the lip at the top to seal it up when we're done. I'll start by putting down some lettuce. So this is just some leaf lettuce, a little piece of that. We can put down some of each vegetable. So some carrots, some cucumber, and realistically, you can add whatever vegetables to these that you like, that you have around. Red pepper, yellow pepper. I've sliced the green onion nice and thin here. Some of the bean sprouts. And again, if you have, thin rice vermicelli, rice noodles, you can also add some rice noodles to this that have been cooked already. You want to put enough filling so that you have something to wrap around. And then I'm just going to put in some fresh mint as well. You can actually put this up closer to the top and you'll see it when you wrap it up. It'll look pretty whenever that's kind of poking through the rice paper wrap, as well as some fresh basil. So we can just add some of that as well. And then the trick here when you're working with these is there's a couple of different ways that you can wrap them up, but you want to make sure that they stick onto each other, which is going to really help whenever you're going to roll it. So the first way that you can do this is by folding the bottom up over top of the ingredients and then folding the edges in. So getting all of that so that it's connected. And then as you start to roll, you just want to use your fingers to kind of help poke the ingredients in, kind of keep them tucked in as you're rolling. And then you'll have a nice pretty wrap like that where some of the ingredients poke through. The other way that you can do this, it really is just personal preference, is by folding the edges in first. So you'll fold the edges in towards center, fold the bottom up. And then again, as you're going here, kind of using your fingers to tighten up the roll and keep poking them in, the ingredients in as you roll it. And then you'll have some really pretty rice paper wraps, okay? And we'll just set these aside in a plate. I'll make a couple more. And then we'll make the dipping sauce. So again, just dipping the rice paper wraps into the water, not too long, maybe 5 seconds. Warm water, just again to repeat that. If you have a little tear in your rice paper wrap, don't stress about it. What I'll say is if you have a tear, put that on the bottom so it's inside, not on the outer lip when you're rolling them. Again, just like a quick dip. As you saw when I was rolling the last ones, even though like you can kind of hear that, they still have that kind of rigidity to them whenever they first come out of the water, but as they sit, that moisture hydrates through. So I'll throw down a piece of lettuce on each one. And then again, just going down with the veggies. You want to work within, you know, the center third of it. So leaving about a third on either side so you have that, that rice paper wrap, the lip on either side to work with. So when you're rolling it up, you don't want to overstuff them. But it's nice to have enough filling in there so that there's something to bite into. After you've made a few of them, it'll definitely start to speed up. The process will go a little faster once you get comfortable with it. They do make really small, cute little wraps, which are nice for finger food at a party, but it's just a lot more work whenever you're rolling the small ones because you have to make twice as many of them. Putting the bean sprouts down. They don't all have to be filled exactly the same way. Okay, and then with this one, because it's torn at the bottom, I'm gonna bring the bottom up first. Doesn't matter if there's a tear, you don't have to waste those, and then folding the edges in. And then again, as you, oh, I forgot my herbs. That's okay, we'll just leave this one without the herbs. Rolling it up, keeping your fingers kind of tucking it as you roll so that it stays nice and tight. You want to be careful not to roll them too tight. If you put too much pressure when you're rolling it up, it can actually cause them to split as they sit in the fridge. But these can be eaten right away as soon as you make them, or like I said earlier too, they do last for, I would say maybe 2 days is the limit. But it's nice that you can make them ahead for a party if you want to. Okay, and then again, the other way to do this is to bring the edges in first. Bring the bottom up. And as you roll, just applying that little bit of pressure as you roll to tuck the ingredients in and keep them nice and tight. And they can touch when they're on the tray. They won't stick together too bad. So there we have our rice paper wraps, okay? Looking really pretty. You can see the herbs and the ingredients poking out through them. So you would just repeat the process, obviously, over and over again until you've used up all your ingredients. And what I'm gonna do quickly now is make a peanut dipping sauce. So you want something to dip these into. Traditionally, this would have fish sauce in it, but because we're working with plant-based, I don't use any ingredients that have animal products. All of my recipes on the website as well are also gluten-free and refined sugar-free, obviously dairy-free because they're all vegan, plant-based. I don't like to use the word vegan as much. I like to say plant-based, it just sounds more inviting. But yeah, plant-based, it's basically the same as vegan, just really with more of a focus on the ingredients being natural and wholesome, whereas vegan food can sometimes have a lot of processed ingredients. Maple syrup. You can also use palm sugar in this. Palm sugar would be more traditional, but maple syrup just makes it a little easier because it doesn't have to dissolve like the palm sugar does. It has that similar kind of caramelized flavor. So that was, sorry, a 1/4 cup of peanut butter. That was 2 to 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. I put 3, however sweet you like it, you can do that. 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. This can also be apple cider vinegar. I like to always give substitutions for the ingredients whenever I'm doing my recipes. So I'll offer traditional ingredients, and if you can't find those, I will always offer something that's maybe a little bit more easily available at the grocery store. And you can always reach out if you register for a class. People email me and ask me questions about substitutions all the time, so I will get back to you if you ever have questions. That was 2 tablespoons of tamari. Tamari is a form of gluten-free soy sauce. Often soy sauce does have gluten in it. People don't realize that they use wheat starch as a base to help kickstart the fermentation of the soy sauce. So looking for either a gluten-free soy sauce or tamari. Tamari is readily available as well, if that's something that you're concerned about, is the gluten content. 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and then 1 clove of minced garlic. Okay, so I just used a garlic press to press that. And again, just quickly going back over what went into the bowl, we had a 1/4 cup of peanut butter, 2 to 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of gluten-free soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and then the garlic, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna whisk this up. It can take a second sometimes to kind of convince the wet ingredients that they wanna mix with the peanut butter, but you can just be patient and just start to whisk this until everything comes together. If there's a peanut allergy, if maybe you don't consume peanut butter, this can be done with almond butter as well. And if it's a nut allergy in general, you can do this with sunflower seed butter, which turns out really well. I've done that before a bunch of times. So it's gonna look like it's not gonna come together at first, but the more you whisk this, it will start to blend up. You can also do this in a food processor or a blender or like a magic bullet to get it to mix together really nice and smooth. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of the separation because of the fact that we're trying to mix together oil and water, but that's okay. And then I'm just gonna transfer this into a bowl for serving. And if you want a little bit thicker consistency, you could add more peanut butter. I like it to not be too thick when we're dipping something into it. Just makes it a little bit easier to dip. And then the last thing, totally optional, is if you want, you can often, at a Vietnamese restaurant, they'll sprinkle some chopped peanuts on top of the peanut sauce as well. And that's that. We did that pretty quick. So it does take a bit of time to make the rice paper wraps if you're doing them, for a big group of people. The other thing you can do is you can just chop your veggies and keep them in the fridge. And if you want to say make these over a couple of days, it only takes a couple of minutes to wrap like 4 or 6 of them as a snack. And you can just quickly make them to order or make them for yourself whenever you want to have a snack. And that's basically that. So check out my website, plantbasedfoodbites.com, like it's here on my shirt. I would love to have some of you, if you're watching this, join me for one of my cooking classes on Thursday night. My name's Mike Murdoch. I'm really grateful to be part of MakerFest and just to hopefully get some more people into their kitchen cooking with me. It's also a great way to get your kids into the kitchen. I have a lot of students that come in and bring their kids. I've had a 6-year-old that's helped to make dinner. There's an 11-year-old that comes and makes the whole meal herself for her family. And it's just a really great way to get your kids into the kitchen and starting to be interested and care about the food that they're making and eating. I'm not fully vegan. I just like to say that and make sure I'm not here to guilt anybody into not eating meat, but it's more about just adding some plant-based options into your diet, because eating plant-based actually has a huge impact, not just on your health, but as well as your carbon footprint. It really helps the environment because meat and dairy are one of the biggest things that add to people's carbon footprints. So check out the website. Hopefully I see you in one of my classes. Have an awesome rest of your day.